Having faith and having a relationship with God helps a lot. It helps with you running your business. It helps with you having a positive mindset. But at the same time, you really have to surrender to Him.
All right, welcome to another edition of Living Bold with Purpose. And I am Dr. B. I'm your host, and just excited about every single day that I get to get up, and I get to be or become the person that I want to be. When I think about living in purpose and doing the things that God put you on this earth to do, I spend my time in my days, talking to people about what does it mean to be in purpose? What does it mean to really, truly do the things? Because we hear so much when we're growing up that you're probably going to go, maybe they tell you, go get an education, go get a job, and you'll do what you'll do whatever, comes your way. And then as a result, you may like life or you may not like life. There's a whole bunch of times when I've been to, whether family gatherings or things like that, and just people tell me that they're miserable. And I'm like, we only get this life one time, right? We get to do this one, we get to go through this process, however many years you've been on this planet. And what a shame it would be to spend all those years doing something you hate to do. When you're not excited about getting up every morning, you're not excited about making a difference in people's lives. And Yvette, one of the things that I tell people is, unless you're serving others, I don't think you're able to live in purpose. I don't think you can go do what God put you on this earth to do and do it for yourself and be truly happy. I think it requires being able to go out and make a difference in somebody else's life. And when you do that, you're able to live in this thing that we call purpose. And you're able to kind of go do the things that get you excited. It's hard for me to believe that somebody is just doing something for themselves, can look forward every day. It might be for a few weeks or a few, like you go on vacation and that's all about you and you get to do all the stuff that you want to do. But if every day was a vacation and you never came home and did anything that served anybody else, those are those people that I think our soap operas and our movies are made about. That those folks that just, that just go, yeah, there's no way. Sometimes I've been on some longer vacations and I'm like, it's time to go home. It's time to go home and do something that makes a difference. And so for those of you who are watching, I have Yvette Lloyd on today. She is right now in a place called Akron, Ohio. And if you've ever been to Akron, Ohio, it's a beautiful place. But right now it's in the beginning of 2025. And I don't think it's a beautiful place right now because it's like a negative 10 degrees. Now, if you're inside the whole time, then you're fine. Because it's all about the people that you're around anyways. It's not about the environment you're in. I'm in Denver, Colorado, and today I woke up and it was -1 degrees. And I went outside and I shoveled snow. And I'm not going back outside again probably till Thursday or whatever the rest of the week is. Yeah, unless I got to it, which I probably do. Grandkids came over this morning. And I got to spend a whole bunch of really cool quality time with them. Today is a holiday as we're recording today. It is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And so, the schools are out and kids are in. And we have, I don't know, Yvette, if you guys have parades and that kind of stuff here. We have a thing called a parade here that meets at our city park. But it's, my grandkids are like, no, we're not going out in -5 degree weather. There are some people who are out there and they're doing some wonderful things. It's something I used to go to. But this year I've taken a break and I get to talk to you, which is kind of really cool. So I've asked Yvette to tell her story, to tell us a little bit about, not just about herself. Sometimes we just do, you get on these podcasts and people tell you all the wonderful things that they want you to know. About themselves. And I'm not saying she's not going to do that, but sometimes when you dig in the story, you actually get to dig into who that person was and who they become. And I think that's a little bit different than just a resume where you just tell all the stuff that you're doing now. And so, Yvette, thank you for being on. Thank you for taking your time to spend with us today. As an entrepreneur, as a person who's out there making a difference and serving others that I know you are, I can't wait to hear who you're all about. So please go ahead and share with us.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And yes, everyone, it is extremely cold here. Oh goodness. But I want to really just start off with my childhood. Just growing up with a single mother, raising myself and my brother. And during those times I was making her a little upset. I wanted to feed the whole neighborhood.
Mm.
And every time she went grocery shopping, I used to sneak up in the house and I used to bring food and tell all the kids because we used to live like in a cul-de-sac.
Mhm.
So I would have all the kids come over and come to the back door and I'll meet them down in my basement where the back door was. And I used to line them up and feed them the food that she just bought.
Oh my
She
gosh.
used to be so mad at me. But it was just me. I always wanted to help others, and I always seen kids in the neighborhood, even though we was living in a less fortunate neighborhood. It still kind of seemed like my mom was rich at the same time because she really didn't put us in her personal life of not knowing her struggles. She wanted us to stay kids. And so with me doing that as I grew older, I ended up starting an in-home daycare, but I actually started off babysitting young kids, and I got the kids from when I worked at a daycare center, and parents that worked for Chrysler, they used to pull me to the side because they wanted to pick up extra overtime hours of working second and third shift. So I started to watch kids in my home, and then later on, and I started that in like 2008, and then 2012, I ended up just becoming it's called a Type B child daycare, and I was able to have 6 kids at once in my home. So I got licensed for that. And then while I was doing that, I also started a nonprofit organization for young girls. And as years progressed, I had serviced about between 500 to 600 young girls in the Akron community. I taught them how to prepare themselves for adulthood with financial literacy, college readiness, job readiness, um, just anything that you could think of as far as becoming an adult so that they'd be ready, because in the school systems they really don't go into too much detail when it comes to that to prepare them for that. And some of the girls, they became mothers while they were in high school. So while they were mothers in high school, they enrolled their kids into my daycare center. And while they came to my youth program, which I started in the basement of my home, they will have their kids upstairs where my daycare was. And I was able to watch their babies while they were able to get the services that they needed for my youth program. So later on, I realized that both businesses were growing. So my daycare center, I turned it into a type A, which that means I could have 12 children and I could hire staff. So I started to do that. And then with the girls program, someone reached out to me in the community and I was able to relocate in a community building where I was able to service the girls. And remind you, I am the money that I'm making from my daycare center, I'm using that money to actually service the girls. I was taking them to the doctors. I was feeding them every week. They were coming every Thursday. If they needed their hair done, if they needed clothes, if they needed shoes, anything they needed, even if it had to do with prom, homecoming, I was there for them all the time. These are low income housing young ladies. So a lot of them were raised in a dysfunctional home setting where I had to teach them even how to be ladies and how to step outside of their comfort zone. And so I introduced them to different places outside of their side of town. And I started to take them to Atlanta, Georgia, Detroit, Michigan, New York, Chicago. I started to let them explore different places so they could see that is another world outside of them, live in the neighborhoods where they aren't able to see too many positive things. So any career interest that they had, I connected with people all over the world, and I actually paid for them to have tickets to attend their events. And I did that with the girls as well. And a lot of them are extremely successful today. A lot of them are like 24, 25 years old, doing amazing things. And also with my daycare, I ended up growing it, and um, I had my in-home daycare, and I opened up a bigger daycare, having 100 kids in my daycare center. And the girls that were graduating when they turned 18, they came over and worked at my daycare center while they were going to college so they could have flexible hours so that they're able to go to school and work at the same time to not struggle while in college. And I taught them how to get their own apartments and also get a brand new car off the lot at a certain price, which these are different now, but I taught them to be able to get it without them needing a cosigner to get them a reliable vehicle and still uphold their responsibilities. And later on, as time progressed, um, I have, when you elevate in life, I realized that a lot of people that were supposed to be my friends really weren't my friends. And not only I was helping the community, I was helping my friends as well along the way. And a lot of them expected me to do so much, and I'm getting acknowledged. I have my own day, look, Yvette Lloyd Day, December 20th of and I received that. I received recognition from the House of Representatives, recognition in many other magazines and everything, BET Awards. And with me getting a recognition, a lot of people that's helping me, I guess they were seeking recognition too. However, every time when I got recognition, I had the reporters interview the girls instead of the staff. And then the girls were a part of the program. They made the program. So I always had the girls get interviewed, and it could help them along the way. However, even though I had a team of people, I was helping them also be knowledgeable and put them in rooms where I were invited at. So for me, putting them in rooms, I expect them to work the room for themselves, and so they can meet the people that I'm around all the time. And I realized that anything that you do for people to try to help them and put them in positions, it'll never be good enough. It'll also be never good enough if you are also still elevating and you still want to help people and you expect them to still be genuine and be happy for you as well. So I end up losing my big daycare center. I actually lost it twice. One time I lost it due to me having friends run it and not making the corrective action plans. And I really don't put my full responsibility on them either, because me as being a business owner, I feel like I should have still went behind the work and not put too much trust in someone to do something that's really something of mine as well. So I went through that, and then I opened up again probably like a week later after I lost it. And then a pandemic came and I lost that again. So I ended up stopping that. And then later on, as the pandemic hit, I ended up losing I stopped my girls program as well. So in 2019, everything is going, I feel like everything's just falling apart. I still had my in home daycare center that was still running. Um, but I ended up losing my mother in 2019. So I lost my mom, and she was actually starting a podcast with me which I'm currently doing now, Life Her podcast. And I interview entrepreneurs, and it came to my attention to do that because a lot of my girls are getting older. Their lives are changing, and they still wanted me in some sort of mentorship. So I gave them this outlet so they could listen to not only me, other people as well when they have times in need. And I started that. And then a year later, me and my mom weren't able to start the podcast together. And I lost my husband a year later. And so when I lost him, he was starting Life Him podcast. He started to interview entrepreneurs, and he only was able to do one interview when he passed away. And after that, it's like I kind of like lost myself for a very long time, a long time, because there was like two huge deaths on me, losing my mom and husband, and me watching my mom take her last breath, and me finding my husband unconscious. It was just a lot for me, and I had to deal with a lot of things as far as rebuilding myself and uplifting myself. It caused me to gain weight, caused me for depression, it caused me to even think about suicide. I never actually wanted to do it, but it did cross my mind. Maybe the life would be better with no one having me here, type mindset that I had. But I still kept going with podcasting because it was like an outlet for me to um, relieve myself and talk to people. Because if I didn't have it, I wouldn't have been talking to nobody. I would have been keeping everything in to myself, and but I still felt myself falling apart at the same time. So it was like half of me there, half of me not there. And as time progressed, I could say probably last year was really like, okay, Vet, it's time for you to get your shit together. It's time for you to keep going and thriving. You have so much to you. You have so much going on. I even almost lost my in-home daycare during the process. At the same time, I was completely broke. I wasn't making no money. I go from making like 600K a year to absolutely nothing. And I lost a lot. I lost my car. I was barely making it to pay anything at all. So, and one day I made a status and I was like, I want to sell all my stuff in my building daycare. I literally selling all that stuff in one day. I made like 8,000 just selling all my stuff, and I just like started paying bills. Then I realized like, okay, I have my daycare, but I have no kids enrolled. How am I going to get kids? And what I learned is um, having faith and having a relationship with God helps a lot. It helps with you running your business. It helps with you having a positive mindset. It helps a lot. But at the same time, you really have to surrender to Him. You really have to let Him know what you're going through and let Him talk you through it. Um, and I started to build that with Him. And I started to watch different videos and seeing that a lot of millionaires and billionaires, they have spiritual advisors. They have people to go to and talk to and navigate them through it all. So I continue to navigate myself through it. And next thing you know, I got a full house of kids. I had like 30 kids enrolled. I'm back to making money. And I will say, like, literally, I'm back to like at least 300K a year. And I'm just like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm making it. This is getting better. But I had to get my health better because my health just went shot. I was high blood pressure, diabetic, all of this like came about. I did not have all of this before my mom and husband passed, but it happened for me gaining weight. It's like I wasn't eating a lot, but I was gaining weight through my body having stress. Like I'm just wasn't taking care of myself. So I started working out, started taking care of myself, started making myself feel better. Now I'm down like now like 60 pounds down. I got so much energy now, and like everything just been going up for me since then. And God been with me. He has been with me heavy, and my relationship with him even more is heavier. And I just like sharing and letting people know, even though you get in positions of you losing everything, you can get it all back. And your mind will take over everything. Like your mind will take over it all. It'll take over your body functioning, everything. And I had to transition my mindset. I had to transition from people I was around and people that I needed to talk to that I was voiding to talk to. And I just started seeing change. And now it's like everything is happening where it's supposed to be right now.
Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that. I mean I know you probably went through some phases of I'm not going to tell this part of my story. I'm not going to tell this part of my story. I'll tell this part. So much to unpack here because there's so many success clues in your story that I think can help a lot of people if they listen to that and kind of follow the steps. I think one of the things in your journey is when we speak to our identity and becoming the person that we need to be in order to do whatever it is that we're doing. And so you would become that person, but because of circumstances and things that are part of it, it's easy to lose that. It's easy to not, I guess, not keep following the things that you were doing in order to have what you were having. What in your identity do you think allowed you to do all the wonderful things at first when you were building your first corporation that just said, hey, I'm able to do this. I'm going to make it happen. I'm this person. And then what goes through your mind when that kind of goes away? I mean, it's never all the way gone away because it's easier the second time, so they say. You know, I don't know if I want to test it. It's easier the second time, but it's what kind of identity or what shaped that who you were or who you are now, I guess still.
Um, Hustle is in me. It's always been in me. And the way my mom raised me, she raised me to be um a queen. She raised me to be a leader. She raised me to be a strong black woman. And when I saw that I was falling short and she wasn't here to actually be present, and it started to hit me more with her not being present. And I realized that she's here in the spirit, she's here to help me and guide me. And it was just some type of reminder of who I really am. And I had to really tap back into that because I wasn't becoming who I was raised to be. And at the same time, I still had young girls looking up to me. I still had them looking and worried about me and everything. And even though they come from that world, just like I come from that world of poverty, um, I still had to be that example to show them, even though we may hit rock bottom, we still could come out of it. And we can't always put the blame game on other people with what was going on within our lives, because it's our life, our our dreams, our times to basically just be whoever we want to be. Can't nobody stop us. Who's stopping you? You letting someone else stop you. So I couldn't let wasn't nothing stopping me to do what I needed to do for me. And it just took me to actually realize that and snap back into reality and think about what would they want you to do.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize because you're talking to it here, and I want to make sure that I bring it out, pull it out, is the power of association, the power of the people that you're around, the power of the people that you allow yourself to be around. You know, you talk about it. You know, you grew up with a mom that was single mom, but it sounds like she had some really good associations and a great association for you that you were able to go around and create this belief system that you could do anything that you had. She was a strong Black woman that fed into you. There's nothing, if you put your mind to it, that can stop you. Then you lose that, right? That association isn't there all of a sudden. You have, a husband who's probably speaking into your life that's, telling you can do this. You lose that. And so now it's like, okay, so where are those associations? I have my faith, but who is God sending in my direction that's now speaking into me? You also spoke about people that you trusted that probably weren't the greatest associations because they had different agendas for your business. They had different agendas for what you believed was happening and wasn't happening. Did you cultivate new associations when you began to come back and you began to, was it just your faith with God, your intimate times with him, or was it other people that began to come into your life that began to continue to speak into you?
Honestly, it was the people that I spoke to during my time of podcasting.
Okay.
So with me podcasting a lot, it seems like everything that I interviewed them with, they were saying things that was relatable to me. They were sending me messages not knowing the messages for me. Mm-hmm. So I was taking that in, and no, I haven't really met any new. I met new people, of course, on my podcast. However, a lot of people been wanting to connect with me, but I will say right now in this season, I am surrendering to that now because no lie, for me getting burnt out from just people and doing business with people and everything, it scarred me for a while. It scarred me to have trust issues, to keep me distant and not be too vulnerable and get too close to people. However, um I realized that me being secluded in one space isn't going to actually get me to where I need to be either. And I had to basically lean on God with that and have faith that I will have enough discernment enough to realize who is who. And I also realized that sometimes people are just temporary in life and they only there for that chapter and you have to keep moving forward. And a lot of times people don't have morals and loyalty and things of that nature that you have, and you can't blame them from it because they weren't raised that way. They don't know, or they may know and they just choose not to. And so I had to separate myself from expecting me out of other people when I need to just continue to just be myself regardless and not block my own blessings, but still do what I need to do and have my morals and respect for other people, even if they don't have respect for me. And I still need to just keep going because I'm going to be blessed regardless, and I'm going to achieve whatever I need to achieve regardless, and the right people will come as time progresses.
That's so cool. One of the things that the reason that I started the podcast I have, and I have too, I have the Living Boldly with Purpose, and I have one that's called Journey to Freedom, which I'm exclusively talking to Black men. And last year I was able to interview 100 successful Black men. And one of the things that I can say that has been able to elevate me and my spirit and who I am, and I think every entrepreneur should have a podcast. Just because it allows you to have two ears and one mouth. It allows you to ask questions and listen, right? You get the power of asking the right questions. And then you get to interview people, especially that sounds like the type of podcast you're doing, of people who are going somewhere, people who have stories that are similar to your story, people who have gone through it. I don't believe that there's success without failure. Right, you have to fail and you have to get back up and you have to move forward. But trusting's hard because the reason I did is I went to it was called the Trusted Edge, and it was a leadership conference just about being able to trust others and finding what it takes to trust others and leaning on, because you can't do life without trust. It's impossible. And leaning with trust and starting with trust. And I came back and I said, well, there's 400 people in this room. It was in Minnesota. And, there was 30 folks of color in this room, and they're getting all this great information. And I come home and I say, well, my culture, it has the hardest time trusting of anybody that I know. We don't trust each other. We don't trust, we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust the white man. We just don't trust. How do we get this information into our hands? And it sounds like, you're in that same kind of boat where I have to trust somebody.
Yeah.
But it's really hard because people have let me down so many times. How have you gotten through being able to trust again?
I've gotten through it because I realize I don't put other people's problems and issues on me. And so a lot of times we internally take on other people's problems and issues, that these are the things that they have to deal with and they have to face on their own time in their own life. And from me going through so much of taking those losses and me realizing that one day I could be talking to my husband and we having a good time and he's talking about his dreams and things that he had going on and being ambitious, and just him, he did 21 years in prison, and I married him in prison. But when he came home, he was home for 3 years and accomplished so much of people being home all of those years he missed. And for me seeing that and how fast he got an opportunity to have an amazing job opportunity in Atlanta, Georgia, that he was getting ready to accept and make money like unbelievable. And the next day he's gone. Like life could just go just like that. And from me seeing and witnessing that life could go so fast and quickly and so unexpectedly like that, it created me to see life differently. It created me to not waste my time on non-meaningful things that isn't helping me. And it helps me also to not take on other people's problems and issues that doesn't have nothing to do with me, because we could blame ourselves for whatever they're going through, and that's not the case. They're going through that because of whatever they're dealing with in their private time, in their private life, that we don't even know about.
I love what you said about taking on other people's problems. Because I think once we become entrepreneurs, or even working in the nonprofit sector, which I've done a lot of, where I've worked with homeless services and stuff, and there's an entitlement mentality with a lot of folks that they believe you owe them something. In
Yes.
order to be able to serve them in a way that can help them, you can't just give everything to everybody, because sometimes they're not ready for it. They might not know that they're ready for it. They might scream and holler and yell at you. And I think our first inkling when we first started, for those of you who are starting businesses that drained a lot out of you because it's such a service-oriented industry, like you were doing with the girls or homeless services, or things where you can get so much into their stories and wanting to help them and do things to help them, but because they haven't gone through the process of what it takes to maintain what you're helping them with, they lose it right away. And then you're just doing this cyclical, around and around and around, because people help them get an apartment, right?
Yes.
And unless you're planning on paying for the apartment for the rest of your life, until they become the person who can maintain that apartment, you're going to help them get there. You're going to spend a whole bunch of resources. You're going to spend a whole bunch of money, and then all of a sudden they're back out of the apartment. I have a couple of payees now that that I work with, and they're mad at me all the time because I don't give them money for just everything they want. Their Social Security money comes in or whatever, and well, I want to go do this and I want to go do that. Well, no, because you're not ready to do that.
Yeah.
And so how with you, have you been able, or the lessons that you might have learned in that process is you can't solve everybody's problem right now. Doesn't mean not ever, but you can't do it right now.
Yeah. I also learned too, because I don't have kids yet, but me helping a lot of kids and helping a lot of adults, I realized the more you give, the least you become valuable. You're not valuable anymore in anyone's life, because this is what you do. This is your job. You're supposed to help me. You're supposed to get me through this. You're supposed to give me that. And the respect is gone. And what I've learned is you can't always give. You have to let that person experience life on their own. You can't always save them from that bump in the head that they're getting ready to receive. And I always try to save everybody in my life. I did not want them to bump ahead because I bumped it and I knew how it felt. But no, they need to bump it, and I need to let them know how it feels, because at the end of the day, I realized that they didn't care about my bumps. And everybody that I helped, and a lot of things that I have done, I didn't have nobody when I took my loss. At the end of the day, it was just me. And I don't dislike them for it. I don't hate them for it, because the things that I've done is what I chose to do, and it was the assignment that God has given me. And now I'm in the process of my life to let God bless me from blessing his children. And I just can't empty my cup anymore when no one filled it up when it needs to be filled. So I've learned that a lot.
I love that. And I love what you said just at the end here is I'm not going to empty my cup. And I think one thing we have to be careful of, especially if you're a generous person and you're a person who loves to give to everybody, is if your cup is empty, it is no longer available to help anybody. And
No.
so you have to be careful to protect that cup of what you need in there, whether it's self-care things or it's other things that you're doing to fill your cup back up. It's amazing because the most generous people are the most successful people, right? They figured the balance out, right? You would say your ability to give, God's going to bless you in your ability to give, but I don't think God's asking you to give 100% of what He gave you.
Yeah, he went. I was doing that on my own. He ain't told me to do that.
Yeah, exactly. But we feel that, right? Because we see somebody hurting, and nobody wants. It's like they're your own kids, and you don't want to ever see somebody in a state where they can't do it. But as soon as you do it for them, and you're not bringing them along so that they can do it themselves, just like you said, now they become dependent or believe they're dependent on you to rescue them in every situation.
And then you're the worst person in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
never
Oh,
done
yeah.
shit
They
for
treat
them.
you bad. They treat you because my
Yes.
pastor told me one thing, I don't know, 20 some years ago. He said, hurting people hurt people.
Yes.
Hurting people hurt people. And I've seen that lived out so many times in my life is just because you've given somebody something, they're still hurting, right? And they're never, it's cold outside, you give them a coat, but they're like, well, how come you're not giving me a 3-bedroom house to live in? It's like, because then somehow you owe that to them because they're not able to get it themselves. And so we got to help the people who really want to move forward, moving through this. And then you talked about health earlier. And how important our health is, because one thing, if we don't have the resources to give financially or materially, then our cup is empty. But what if we don't have our health to be able to give to other folks as we're trying to help other folks, and then we don't take care of ourselves? We spend all the time. Your lesson, you talked about it a little bit of not being healthy. what are some things you did? I can't imagine that you just jumped on, saw commercials, jumped on Jenny Craig and ate some meals and all of a sudden
No.
better, right? I mean, what was your journey on your health journey?
Absolutely not. No, my health journey actually hit me hard because I started to get really sick and dizzy and stuff. And I end up getting VSG, like a weight loss surgery. I actually just got it in August 1st of last year. And I did so much research on it because I couldn't find the motivation to continue to work out. I was working out in spurts. Like every now and then did I get unmotivated. Say for instance, it rained today. I'm not going to work out. It's raining. That was my excuse, you know? So I also had to, when I ended up getting the surgery, it changed me completely. Of course, it changed my eating habits. Things that I did eat, I didn't like eating anymore, and it it just gave me just a new outlook on how I felt because I also had PCOS like extremely bad, and I had to really just shift a lot of things in my life because I wouldn't be here. And also, another thing that made me get the surgery as well is my mom, she passed away from heart congestion failure. So in her lungs, it built up a lot of fluid from her arteries being closed. She already had stents in her arteries, but it had more that closed up, and it caused her to drown in her lungs. And my dad, he also has heart issues as well. Not only that, I had another cousin. He had a quadruple bypass surgery, and he had to get a stent put in as well at the same time, and he had the surgery. And then my aunt ended up having a heart attack in between time as well. She had to get an artery put in. So it's a pattern going on. And it seems like it was like a huge pattern with my family having heart issues and needing stents at a certain age. My mom was 60. She had just retired from working. And then next thing you know, her sisters started having it and everything, and they all in their 60s. So that's when I wanted to make changes in my 40s and started living different, eating different, and doing research on heart congestion failure and how to keep myself healthier so I could live longer. And that's what actually like just changed me in many ways for me to get my health together, because even though me having suicidal thoughts, I still wanted to be here. It was just like a period in my life where I just felt lifeless, but for me to be here, I wanted to get me together mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And health was like one of my first things that I really wanted to get together because my faith was already there. I already was getting everything out of that way, but my physical had to be there. And after that, everything just started coming together. And now it's just I work out constantly. Besides, I just got over getting sick with pneumonia, but other than that, I eat healthy. I'm like literally on my way to being a vegan, honestly. I'm really on my way to it. But it's a daily process, but when you daily feel yourself feeling good and you feeling like mentally clear of a lot of things, and life experiences will change you either for the good or for the worse. And me, I'm going for the good.
Yeah, I don't know. Thank you for sharing that too, because one of the things that, I think with our health, especially in our culture, is one, we don't want to go to the doctor, right? So we do everything we
Yes.
can not to go to a doctor. But unless we know what's going on with our bodies, because we're not doctors and we haven't been to med school, it's really hard to do. But then what happens is when we decide, okay, I'm going to go to the doctor, we act as if they know everything, and they don't, because they don't know your body, right? They don't know what works and what doesn't work inside. I mean, they know, like, let's say with diabetes, right? One of the biggest meds that I know that works, that they say works, is the miracle drug, is metformin, right? So metformin is a drug they give you because it brings down your blood sugars, but it also brings down, in a lot of cases, I'm not saying every case, is your ability to want to do anything. You just want to sleep. You don't have any energy. You don't really want to do stuff. And all of a sudden you're on this drug that makes it almost worse. Or your body's going to live longer, but you're not going to live longer because you're just depressed all the time. You don't want to do anything. And so when you do go to the doctor, it's important that you have this relationship with them as if they work for you, because they do. In some way, you are paying them to give you the vice that makes your body work. And so, and not saying this with everybody who's on metformin, because it's probably a good drug for a lot of people, but if it is making you feel bad, it's important to go tell them, I feel really bad and this isn't working. Find something else. I see, like, I don't know, 38 million commercials, during an athletic game that tells you all the diabetic medicines. So there's got to be a whole bunch that work, right? If that's what you have, or high blood pressure medicines, or all the other medicines. And so that relationship you have with your doctor is important. And we all know what we're supposed to do, and it's really hard to do it. And if you don't have somebody helping you do it, it's probably going to be impossible to do. Because if you were able to have the discipline by yourself to go out and exercise and go out and eat right and do all those things, if you have those disciplines already, you'd be doing it. Yeah. So it's okay first to admit that you don't have them, and now it's time to start doing them and to start making them happen. I want to ask you about relationships, because one of the things that I started, we're 7 episodes into it. It's called Why Love Waits, and it's a Sunday night. We talk. We have 4 women and 5 men, or 5 women, 4 every week, and we talk about these relationships that maybe serve us and maybe don't serve us. And you spoke of your mom being a strong Black woman, but still being single. We have so many. The statistic that I read is that 50%, almost 50% of Black women that are at age 50, no, 50% who are age 40 have never been married. And out of that 50%, 75% of them have at least one child. And so we've come to the point in our world, or whatever, it was like in the 1960s, it was only like 16, 17%. So this gap is growing, as if we don't need each other, as if we don't need relationships, as if we don't, And so what's your thought process on it? It's great to be a strong Black woman, but and men are looking at our women, and women are looking at our men, but we're saying, hey, I don't need you. I can do this all by myself. What's your thought?
I'm gonna tell you one thing. I don't want to do it by myself. I'm gonna tell you that.
All right.
But I've viewed a lot of different women over the years of me even doing childcare.
Mm-hmm.
I've viewed how men are and everything. But what I've learned for myself, I had to know who I was. I had to know who I was, what I wanted in life, what what is my role in life, because I'm already me being a single Black woman, successful, making 6 figures, and me knowing that a lot of times women will be big headed. They want to be the man in the relationship, even if they're making more than that man, and they make him feel less of a man. Me as a woman, I could never make a man feel less of a man. I was blessed to have the grandfathers on my mom's and dad's side that actually were like amazing to me. They taught me a lot when it comes to different things and roles. And I watched my grandparents be married all their lives, you know. And I can't never take away what a man wants to do. And a lot of people don't know how to do teamwork either. They don't know how to communicate and understand their roles within their relationship either. Maybe the woman could do more than the man, or maybe the man could do something more than the woman. But communication is the key to it all. Communication is even the key when it comes to finances. Money gets in the way of a lot of relationships as well. And me personally, you can't go into a relationship. What a lot of people do is talk about, you know, sex. A lot of people have sex on their mind first. Me, I want to know, what are your plans financially 5, 10 years from now? What,
Mhm.
where do you want to be? What do you want to do? Do you want to start a business, or do you want to get promoted at your job or something? You got to figure out and get to know the person, not just on the outside, but you have to get to know them within as well. And a lot of people don't do that either. And I have noticed that over the years. Even just me being in childcare, a man and a woman that have a child, when they're the first year of that child, the child, before the child's 1 year old, the father's gone. He's completely gone. And even from 2000 and I could say 2012, not even 2012. I want to say 2019 and up, a lot of fathers were becoming single fathers, raising their children on their own, and women just want to be outside. So you have that too. So the roles were starting to switch over the years, and that's how it is still today. Men are raising their children well on their own, and mothers want to be somewhere else, but still having children. So you have women having children by multiple men, and these men aren't even around to even stick around. So it's just so much that goes on. I just examined a lot of it, and I just don't want none of that in my household. When my husband was here, we were married for 3 years. We never had an argument the years of our marriage. They say the first 5 years is crazy. However, me, I'm a calm woman. I communicate. I express myself. When something is wrong, you have to know how to sit down and talk to that person and let them know, hey, I don't like the way you did that. And we could think of a solution together. But we're going to sit down and talk about it like adults. I could lay on your chest and we could talk about it, but we're going to talk about it. But it's just the communication and the finances, and some women just want to be so dominant and so right, and not holding accountability to their wrongdoings as well, because you have to be honest with yourself too. Because you could say for instance, you do something wrong to that man, but you're blaming him for it, but you know you wrong, but you don't even apologize for it. So sometimes women have a hard time apologizing too. So it's so much that comes with it, and it's so much that I could elaborate on. A lot of women get upset with me. However, they figure it out later. Oh, you was right. Let me redirect myself with something. And it's just really starting with you first, and then understanding you, and then helping that person understand you, and paying attention to your significant other, because a lot of people really don't pay attention to who they're laying with. A lot of people don't even know who they laying with because they don't care for real. They just care about what they could do for them and how they are sexually satisfied.
Man, it's been good. I'm enjoying all of this, but we're running out of time. What didn't we talk about that you
I
want?
know.
We want to make sure that our listeners get to talk to. Here's what I can promise you guys: Yvette and I are not done. We might be done with this podcast here coming up, but there's going to be much more to come, whether she knows it or not. She's there's too sweet of a spirit, and a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, I guess, is one of the words that I want to use, that I want to thank you for, because and she's willing to talk about it, which is, so many of us hide those things in our life that we think make us weak, when in fact they make us strong. And so the floor is yours. What do you want to share in our last 5 minutes or so that you would love for everybody to know about?
I just don't want anyone to waste their time. Don't waste your time on yourself. Don't waste your time on people. And also follow me. Follow me on Life Her Podcast on all social media platforms, or Life Her Vet on all social media platforms. And y'all will enjoy my vibe. I'm just me. That's it.
Gotcha. Being able to share it with the world. Well, what I want to do is I'm going to officially invite you to our Why Love Waits podcast that we do on Sunday night. We do it live. I would love to have you on this next Sunday if you're willing to come on as a special guest, and then hopefully a regular on it, because I think you have so much to offer, because of the not just because of who you are, who you are as a person, but you've done a lot of stuff. You've taught young women what it means to be a young woman and how to be successful. And I think that's a lot of what we're looking for inside relationships. And I think you have so much to give. You're, like you said, you're on your way back, and you've hit those pinnacles, but you haven't hit where you want to be. And so there's anything that I can do to help you get to where you want to be, or even our audience who's talking, who can help you get to where you want to be. Because it's one thing to just stay stagnant, and it's another thing to grow. And, if our job is to be better than we were the day before, and then I know tomorrow is going to be a better day than today was. That's what living in purpose is all about. Living in purpose is not only serving others and becoming the person you need to be in order to do the thing that God put you on this earth to do. But it's by that serving others that allows you to do that. Yvette, I know you're doing that. You're doing that in spades. You're doing it in a way that throughout the things that have happened into your life, you've rebounded, you've taken those. And I think a lot of people, at least that I come across, that I know, that contribute their life to what happens to them. Not what they do externally. They say, all these things happened to me, and so woe is me, I can't do all these things. But it's proven to us that no, that's not, those things, life's going to happen. It's going to happen to all of us, right? And so when it does, it's how we react to those things that happen to us that truly determines who we are and who will we become. So again, thank you for being on. Thank you for just being a part of this podcast with me and sharing your life. And I'll look forward to talking to you. For those of you who have not subscribed yet, please go ahead and hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Check us out wherever you find podcasts. And so, because I know throughout these interviews, you will find somebody that you resonate with. You'll find somebody that can give you those associations. Not every day we can walk out into the street and find somebody who can help us move forward. But it is every day that you can get on a podcast, you can listen, where you can find somebody that is what we call a kindred spirit, a person that's like you, that can help you begin your journey into finding those. And so you guys have a wonderful, awesome, just incredible day today. Don't forget, you are God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to. And we will see you on the next one. You guys have a great day.
Thanks.